Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you all had an amazing start of 2023, and if you're new here, this is Jessica with a little white door. I am obsessed with headbands and you saw me wearing them in a few of my videos. I especially love the ones that you can find at Anthropologie, but those vary in price from anywhere close to $20 to $300 and more. So in this video I want to share with you 5 different ways that you can make your own without a sewing machine and for a fraction of the price. Make sure to like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified when I post and I share a video every week. And leave me a comment to let me know which one of the headbands that you're going to see is your favorite, or just stop by and say hi. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, and for a channel like mine that it's not even 2 months old is an incredible achievement. So keep subscribing because it truly helps me so much. And yeah, without further ado, let's jump into the video. So here I am sorting through my available fabrics, and I must say I ended up using 50% of actual scarves that I'm not using anymore and 50% scrap fabric that I had left over from previous projects. Then I am showing you the 2 headbands that we are going to work with, and these are available on Amazon and they're simply made out of plastic, and of course I will link them in the description box for you. The other 2 supplies that I'm using in the project are going to be this black heavyweight twill and this sheet of upholstery foam. Well, of course, hot glue too. For my first headband, I am working with this hard plastic 2 inches base, and because it is really flat and I want this look to turn out plush and soft, I'm going to cut to measure the sheet of upholstery foam I showed you earlier. Essentially, I'm using the headband to trace the shape on the foam and then I'm cutting it. I'm not worrying about being precise because it's just foam and I can always refine the edges if it needs to be. I just want to get the shape and length right. Once the foam is cut, I am going to make sure to place the headband right in the middle so that I have the 2 ends of the plastic headband base free of foam for comfort when wearing it. Then, in order to have a smoother transition between the flat ends of the base and the foam, I'm just cutting the foam as you can see here in a minute, but first I am just securing the foam on the base with a hot glue gun. I'm using a low heat because I don't want the plastic to warp and because I don't want to burn my fingers, which is totally unnecessary. So yeah, I'm pressing down the foam and I'm making sure it adheres to the base, and I'm being a bit generous with the glue amount here so that when the glue dries over time, the piece doesn't come off. And then I cut the ends to make a smoother transition, just like I'm showing you here. Then I'm laying out my fabric, and say that you're going to follow the process to the T. Here I'm using a silk scarf 21 by 21 inches, and I am taking 2 opposite angles of the square and folding them inward towards each other. And it's probably easier for you to see what I'm doing than for me to explain it, but basically I'm going to fold my fabric until I get a skinnier folded piece of about 4.5 inches. Now I'm placing my headband in the middle and glue the ends of the fabric onto the ends of the headband base. It's a pretty self-explanatory process, but essentially I'm folding the ends of the fabric over on a generous amount of hot glue in order to secure it to the base, and I am letting it dry. I do the same things on both ends, being careful to collect my fabric in the center so that it folds nicely without wrinkles on the outside. And I'm not pulling too tight because I want this to look soft and airy. After that, I am gluing the side of the fabric onto the base so that even when sitting on my head, the headband is not going to show any plastic or foam underneath. And in the end, I'm just finishing and adjusting so that I get a look that works for me. And to finish the project, I cut the length of the strands from the fabric that was left loose and folded into the headband, securing it with hot glue. And because I wanted a finished look, I then used a small piece of black twill and wrapped it around the two ends of the headband to secure the fabric within and just make sure the finished project has a longer lifetime and a much more refined aesthetic. For this headband, I chose to work with this velvet looking fabric because I love the idea of creating a very plush effect. But you can totally use any fabric you would like. I cut 3 pieces about 40 inches long and 2 inches wide, and a short one about 22 inches long and 1.5 inch wide. Then I picked my 1 inch wide plastic headband base and I place it in the middle of the short fabric. And basically, I am securing the ends the same way I did for the previous project, just keeping it a lot more tight because this time I want a much cleaner and snug look. You can see here I am firmly gluing down the fabric into the inner side of the headband base, and I am essentially covering the outer part of the headband without any possibility of leaving the fabric loose. I went ahead and made sure to cover fully the sides of the base as well, and especially here because I was working with fabric pretty much cut to measure. I almost burned my fingers a few times, so be careful. But essentially you want to take your time and finish the whole headband base and achieve a very clean and neat look. You see here in fast speed how I finished it and also how I close the ends of the headband, pretty much folding them into the inner part of the base just like in the previous project. And don't worry if the inner side of the headband looks a little bit messy because it's going to be covered with the black twill. Now that I have a nice fabric covered headband, I am putting it aside and I am basically tying a knot with the ends of the 3 long strands of fabric that I cut earlier. When they're nicely laid out side by side and tied together, it's time to braid them. And I am just doing a regular 3-strand braid, and the process here is very simple and self-explanatory, but basically you want to keep going pretty much for the full length of your strands. Now here, my fabric, being stretchy, was getting tangled and each strand wanted to sort of roll into itself, so I had to adjust and finesse pretty much every single knot I made. But basically, yeah, whatever fabric you're using, you want to take your time to finesse if you want to achieve a nice and consistent looking braid across the whole headband. Once I was done braiding, it was time to glue the braid on the headband base that I previously covered with fabric. And here you can see me gluing the first portion of the braid onto the base, making sure to leave the final part of the headband free of glue. I am pressing the braid down and I'm making sure that the whole braided piece looks nice and equally plush and of the same size all over. Keep finessing and fixing before you glue it down the braid, and once you're done you can secure the ends with the black twill like we did before and then cut the excess fabric off. This headband was actually sold at Anthropologie before, but unfortunately they don't make it anymore. So I wanted to make one for myself, and I am using a 1-inch headband base, and I am working with a cotton linen ribbon 1.5 inch wide with frayed edges. The length is going to depend on the size of your headband, but if you're using the one I have from Amazon, then you're going to need a ribbon about 4 yards long. I started by gluing one side of the ribbon to the end of the headband base, and I am basically wrapping it around the headband, making sure to leave about the same gap from one loop and the other, so that the frayed edges actually function as a textural element in the piece. Don't pull the ribbon too tight as you go, as you want somewhat of a softer look, but also do not leave it too loose, otherwise it will show the plastic base underneath. As I reach the top middle of the headband, I realize that because it gets wider, once you're trying to decrease the width on the other side, you must fold gently some of the loops underneath so that the ribbon doesn't crease. Now take a break to love your pet, kiss your mom or your boyfriend, husband, wife, daughter, whatever the case may be, and then finish your headband by folding the ends of the ribbon inside the headband and securing them with a dot of glue. I am choosing to do a clean job here, so I am not using the twill to finish the ends. So if you want to do the same, try to glue the ends as flush as you can to the headband. The next step is totally optional, but because I want the same look from the Anthropologie headband, I proceeded on gluing some crystals, and there's no rhyme or reason for my choices. I am just trying to create somewhat of an abstract pattern, so I'm gluing each piece individually, and once I'm done, the headband is finished. Alright, for this one I chose to work with 1.5 inch headband base, and even if it wasn't my first choice, I am using this 1/2 inch black twill because I didn't have anything longer. Now watch the process that I am showing you because it will explain how I'm doing this, and I am using a short strand because it is easier to see what I am doing. Essentially, I am holding one side of the ribbon at one of the ends of the headband, and I am tying a knot, creating a loop around the top, passing the other side of the ribbon through and pulling it tight. Begin looping your ribbon about 1/2 inch above the end of the headband, and make sure to apply the same tightening force so that it all look uniform. After you repeat the process, you will start seeing a pattern forming, and the result is truly cute. You're going to need a very long ribbon for this. I had a full 50 yard spool, and I ended up using 3/4 of it. So I basically tied 3-4 loops around one end of the headband, and then I folded the ribbon I was holding with my thumb around the end and glue it to be secured nicely. Now here you see why I showed you the process with a short strand, as when you're doing it actually, you're moving around a lot of ribbon, and I wouldn't have been able to show you the loop trick otherwise. This may be the shortest tutorial in history, but the steps are super repetitive, so I'm going to play this on fast speed for you. At the end, you fold the end of the ribbon around the other end of the headband and glue it to secure it tight, and you're done. I'm starting with the 2 inches headband base, and like I did before, I'm going to cut out the upholstery foam to give a little plush to the final piece, and then I am gluing it onto the base. Earlier, I only cut the foam at the ends of the headband because I wanted a smoother transition, but this time I am instead cutting it all down because I don't want to add a lot of height to the headband, and I could have used a thinner foam, but this is all I had, so I made it work. Don't worry, once the base is covered with the fabric, even if the foam is cut unevenly, you won't be able to see that. Then I picked this green satin fabric I had in my stash, and I glued one corner to one of the ends of the headband. Here I realized that the fabric I was using was way too large, so I am cutting it down to a much thinner strip. However, for some reason my camera died here, and so I apologize, but essentially I just cut the fabric to make it a much thinner width. Ideally, you want to pick fabric as long as 28 inches and as wide as 5 inches. Then I am basically wrapping the fabric around the headband, sort of like the same way I did for the linen ribbon, but I am working in twisting it as well, so that it adds dimension and plushness, and I hope that's a word. As I'm wrapping it around, I am adding hot glue on the underside of the headband base to secure the fabric, and I could have left the piece as it was, but I like a little sparkle, so I added some rhinestones I had left from the previous project, just for a little extra visual interest. So you can totally skip the step, of course, but otherwise I am just using hot glue to secure the rhinestones on the headband. Once done, as usual, I am folding the end of the fabric and securing the ends with the black twill ribbon, and that completes the look. And there you guys have it. The sun is going in and out, so I apologize for that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell so you get notified when I post. Leave me a comment in the comment section. I love reading all of your comments. And yeah, I will see you in my next one. Bye, you guys.